Hello everyone, welcome into Fatty's Feast, where we make the best food you'll ever eat without leaving your backyard. My name is Josh, and today we are going to be unboxing, assembling, and seasoning my brand new Blackstone Griddle. That's right, the time has finally come where I have pulled the trigger and purchased a brand new Blackstone. I have missed cooking on one of these guys dearly, and I'm so excited to see what's in this box. Now, if you've been around this channel for a while, you recall that I used to have a Blackstone that I unfortunately had to give away when I moved from Connecticut to Tennessee. I think I purchased that thing in 2017 or something at Walmart. It was on sale for like $225, something really cheap, because it was an older model and they were trying to roll out their new models. That being said, there were a lot of things about that older model that I didn't like, and a lot of things they've improved upon that I was always jealous that other people had. So I finally get to use some of those new features, which aren't new to most of you out there. I picked this model up at Costco unintentionally. I had no plans on buying a Blackstone that day, but you know how Costco works. And this thing cost $369.99. Nice. This is also a Costco exclusive model, so there are some things on this particular Blackstone that you won't see if you go to, say, Walmart or buy it online. And to put the cost in perspective, I was at Walmart a few days later. They had just the base model, no bells and whistles Blackstone that was retailing for around $290 or something. So this one was really only, what's that, $70, $80 more? I think it's 70, 60? Whatever. But I thought it was a pretty good deal for what you get. So we're gonna unbox and assemble this guy. We'll see how painful that is. Then we'll walk through just the overall features of the griddle. And lastly, I'll show you the most important thing you need to do with a new griddle, which is seasoning. So let's see what's in the box. I'm going to hurt myself. So much freaking foam, God. And this is why I hate assembling things. Look at all that crap. Hopefully that was the hardest part, but we got everything laid out here. The elements, we got a shelf, we got another shelf, we got some more shelves, we got our nuts and bolts and our wheels and all sorts of fancy things. And lastly, the griddle top. You may have noticed my propane tank here. Be sure to get one of these guys because the griddle does not come with one. Actually, you should get two, just in case you run out of fuel during a cook. All right, first impressions on the instructions. I like how they clearly labeled every part. Tells you right away the tools you'll need. You also see easy to understand pictures because I can't read words. And it doesn't look like it's gonna take us that long at all. So first, you're gonna wanna get a AA battery for the igniter. You're gonna need an adjustable wrench and a drill or screwdriver. Also, looking at these parts, there doesn't appear to be any weird Allen screws or anything you need an Allen wrench for, which I love. I hate those things. So let's get this thing put together. First thing I noticed, it would help to have another person here so this doesn't keep happening. Also, make sure these wheels are locked so you can tighten the bolts. You'll probably need a smaller screwdriver to secure this due to this space. That ain't going anywhere. This part here, with the help of another person, very important. Don't listen to instructions, be a man. Oh, this sucks. Yup, maybe don't be a man. Yup, you should definitely have two people doing this. This blows. And there we have it, ladies and gents. Simple as that. All in all, this took me about 35 minutes, so not the worst thing in the world. Also on this pack, I like how all of the pieces are labeled clearly. You can't confuse anything. That can't be said amongst all grill suppliers. Honestly speaking, all in all, this was a very easy setup. The one thing I would stress is you probably should have two people in order to get this top on the body. But I've assembled a lot worse, trust me, not mentioning names. So now that that's out of the way, let's walk through some of the features of this griddle. So the first thing you'll notice is there are plenty of hooks on this griddle. We got 4 on each shelf. These shelves are pretty damn sturdy, I will say. And if space is an issue, we can just take these and fold them down, or if you want to cover the thing, and they just pop right back up like so. Continuing across the top, we have our igniter here, and we have 4 beautiful looking knobs. Now, one thing that used to drive me absolutely nuts on my old griddle is you'd have to use this zone in order to light the rest of the zones. Now, each of these is independent, so you can light whichever zone you're cooking on. Because of that, I tended to favor this zone here, and I feel like it kind of wore out after a while. Down below that, we have a beautiful looking shelf basket thing, so you can put whatever you need to in there. I'm curious how hot this is going to get, but you could stack probably, 18 beers in here. Let's try it with this one. Oh yeah, look at that, perfect. And look at that, some more hooks, 4 more hooks to hang things. And another thing I love is this magnetic strip. So if you wanted to, you could just take your burger spatula there and throw it right there. That's pretty neat. That way it can get all disgusting and grimy from all the grease. Jesus, that takes a lot to get off. Probably the most important feature for alcoholics such as myself is this built-in bottle opener. Unfortunately, I don't drink a lot of bottled beer. This shelf, exactly the same as the other one with the 4 hooks. And then down below here, we have our paper towel holder. Look at that thing. I always hated bringing paper towels out all the time, so pretty excited about that. Continuing on below, we have 1 shelf for storage. I know the base model now has containers you can just slide right in, but I like that shelf. I don't typically store stuff anyway. And then we have our casters. So we have 2 stationary ones here, and then 2 casters that swivel and lock on this side. These seem to undo pretty easily, and wow, moves very smoothly. I like that. I also like how this one comes with a cover. I had to buy my old one separate, which for whatever reason was extremely expensive. But let's take a look at the griddle top. I mean, it's a griddle top. What do you expect? But you can see the bare metal that we have to season. One of the things I am super excited about is this rear grease drain. Now, I know they've had this design out for quite some time, but on my old griddle, I had the grease drain that ran across the front and drained over here. That drain was absolutely terrible. It would get clogged, it would leak everywhere. So I love that rear trap. Now, one thing I mentioned earlier was I wasn't planning on purchasing a griddle when I went to Costco. Thankfully, I did have someone with me to assist, kind of. But if you're going to purchase this thing, you need to have another person with you, because they just have these things stacked up in their boxes, which you have to take down, put on a cart, bring to checkout, load in your vehicle. I don't understand why they don't have one of those cardboard sign things that you can just bring to checkout and they can assist you in getting it to your vehicle. But it is what it is. Just don't kill yourself trying to buy this thing alone. Now, this doesn't have an air fryer attachment or cabinets or maximum storage space, but I think for what it's worth, the small little features you get, I think it's worth every penny. So now the important step. Let's get this thing seasoned up because I'm hungry and I want to make my dinner. All right, so first let me get my propane tank situated. Look at that, screwed in just like so. And next, let's throw our battery into our igniter. Let's test it out. I think that battery's dead. Shit. All right, let's try this one. There we go. Much better. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this bucket and put it behind where the grease drain is. And then I'm just going to spray this guy down a little bit. And this is the only time you'll ever do this. And then I'm just going to take some dish soap and we're going to give him a nice brush down. Notice I have this brush here. It works pretty well. And all we're trying to do here is get these factory oils off before we season it. So we're not going too crazy. We're not power washing it or anything, but I'm just trying to get all that gunk out of here. Now, I will say there's nothing visible that I saw, but it's still a good practice to do this. And like I said, this is the only time you'll do this. You don't want to do this after cooking every time or anything like that. All right, now let's get this stuff off of here. And you'll notice it's kind of pooling off to this side, so I'll adjust that in a second. And that's why I put that bucket there. As you can tell, it's kind of working. With a little bit of effort, we can just lift this, and that stuff will go back. I'll just take a cloth, try to wipe some of this residual water out of here. It doesn't need to be bone dry because we're going to do that in a second. And that looks pretty good to me. Alrighty, propane on, knob on, ignite on. And I'll slowly turn on all of my zones. You don't want to go too fast because sometimes the regulator in the propane tank will just back the propane down immensely, and you won't realize it until 20 minutes in that your griddle's not heating up. All right, let's see what we're looking at. You can't see anything, I know. You can kind of see it in there, but the flames look pretty good. So now we just have to sit and wait and drink another beer. There are two things we're trying to do here. First, we're trying to evaporate all of that water off. And second, we're trying to heat the surface up to a point that we see not burn marks, but we see color on the griddle surface over the different zones. So we're just gonna wait for that to happen. It should take about 15 minutes or so, and we'll come back and throw our oil on. And after about 20 minutes, this is what we got. That's what I was talking about. You see this kind of charring? It looks really good. We just don't want it to be that silver looking surface that we saw earlier. So I actually want to take some temps of this guy. Let's start right here. 570, holy shit. 510, 508, I'm trying to get right over, 515, and then 491 over here, and 460 something. And it seems that the hottest area of this griddle is right next to where the gas is coming in, that first zone right there. So just like with smoking, it's very important to keep this in mind when you want to have a good sear. You probably want to go over here. If you want to put some things to rest, but still have them hot, turn this guy down on this side and put them over that way. Let's just get the sides too, because I'm curious about that. 327, yeah, you just don't want to put your hand there. What about down here? What are we looking at here? 173, okay. So you probably don't want to put any kind of plastic or anything that might melt right in here. If I touch this down here, it's definitely a little bit warmer. Yeah, you're looking at 120 something. It's not gonna melt anything, you know, hugely, but I wouldn't want to put one of the tall plastic bottles in here with the heat radiating off. Let's just get the shelves too. I mean, they're pretty much the same. 134, we got this area. Yeah, that's hot. 190, 177, cool. Actually, I had it off there. Yeah, that's pretty damn hot. You don't want to touch there. What about this shelf down here? Yeah, almost 200, great. So as I said, just be mindful if you're placing things here. If you don't want your beer to get warm, that's probably the most important thing. You don't want to place it down here. All right, so now we're going to start the seasoning process using oil. Now, I am using vegetable oil. That's just the oil I use typically for everything, and that's the oil I have. Now, you definitely want to use an oil with a higher smoke point. So a lot of people prefer things like grapeseed oil. You wouldn't want to use something like virgin olive oil because that's just going to smoke off and burn very quickly and have this rancid smell to it, and you don't really want that on your griddle top. But basically, just like when we season a smoker, we're seasoning the griddle top for a few different reasons. The first being we want to protect it. We don't want it to rust. And the second reason is this is going to make this non-stick. So a lot of people are concerned about the fact that if you throw something on a griddle surface like eggs, it's going to stick. Trust me, if you season your griddle correctly, you're not going to have a problem. That's what makes griddles so magical. It's basically like cooking on a giant cast iron skillet. It's the best thing ever. So let's get this on here. All right, so we're gonna start with a pretty good coating. See how I do that? It automatically starts to smoke off. And I'm gonna take some towels here with my tongs because we don't wanna kill ourselves. And we're just gonna do this. We're gonna rub it all around. Now this is gonna be kind of stinky, so you don't wanna be wearing clothes that you wanna ruin or anything like that. You shouldn't be doing that when you griddle anyway. And look at that. I mean, this is hot as hell. Even standing here is a little uncomfortable. And we're just trying to rub everything down, trying to get all of the edges, just like so. And just like seasoning a cast iron skillet, you want to do basically the whole damn thing. Got some pieces of towel that fell off there, that's not a big deal. Then I want to take a little bit more, and I'm just going to coat the edges as well. Try to get every single crevice. The only part you're not going to get is where the flame is, unfortunately. And we're just trying to soak this up and do this as even as possible. Just getting all that in there. Ooh, it's hot. Literally, that is freaking hot. I am sweating my ass off right now. It's not even funny. Probably a good idea to wear gloves doing this as well, I'm not gonna lie. And then we'll take some of this and we'll go along the front side as well as the sides here, just for added protection. Go over here. And lastly, I'm gonna close my lid and we'll get the back side as well. There's so much oil on this rag that you really don't need to add a ton extra. All right, with that being done, we'll open her back up. All right, and now the most complicated part of seasoning a griddle, we do nothing. That's right, we're gonna wait again. There's a lot of waiting involved in this process. So what we're doing is we're just waiting for all of this oil to kind of burn off and then we're going to apply another coat. So what we're doing is we're allowing this oil to smoke off and burn off, and in the process, it's adhering to the metal. But you don't want to do this just one time, you want to do this a few times, 3 or 4 times. This is also something you want to do after every cook. You want to continuously season your griddle. Now the initial seasoning is the most important seasoning because we're making that barrier that really doesn't exist yet. But as your griddle matures and you use it more, you're just going to build up that seasoning, and you definitely want to just wipe it down when you're done with some oil and let that oil adhere to the metal. So we're gonna give this about 10 minutes. We're just waiting for all of this to smoke off. And once it does, we'll apply another coat. All right, you can see that the smoking has subsided, so let's smoke it up again. I mean, I think you guys should be experts by the end of this video because I'm gonna show you each and every time that I throw oil on here. I'm just kidding, we don't have to go that far. We're just doing the same thing again. We're gonna do the same exact thing. It's not rocket science, it's very, very simple. And don't forget our sides, gotta get our sides. Now, as you go on, you'll use less and less oil, kind of. I'm literally singeing the hairs on my hand as we speak, but I do that every time I cook something. And we'll get the outside again. And just like that, we're smoking again. All right, I don't think you guys need to see me do this same thing 69 times. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna do it probably 2 to 3 more times. But basically, it's that same process, and as you go along, you just wait for it to smoke off, and then you apply another coating. So I'm gonna do my additional coatings, and then I'll bring you back and we'll see what we have for a finished seasoned griddle. All right, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 more coatings, so 4 coatings altogether, this is our perfectly seasoned griddle top. Look at that color. It looks absolutely beautiful. So this is what it should look like when you're done. If it doesn't look like this, then you haven't done enough coats of oil. Now, if you're cheap like me, I know you're probably going to cringe at the fact that you're basically just wasting away propane for an hour and a half doing the seasoning process. Trust me, it's necessary. You gotta do it. It's fine. If you do not season your griddle properly, you're going to have food sticking, you're going to get annoyed, it's going to be a mess of a process in the long run and cause you more aggravation than if you just properly took the time to season it. And once again, that seasoning is going to build up over time. The more you use your griddle, the more protection you're going to have, the better flavors you're going to have. I personally don't think there is any food on earth, probably ever, that tastes better cooked in a pan or in the oven than it does on a griddle. The flavors you get are immaculate. And that's not just me saying that, that's literally anyone who owns a griddle. I don't think we're biased, but I think we're just onto something. So my final thoughts, I think this griddle, for what you get for the price point, is absolutely superb. It's worth every penny. The setup process was extremely easy other than not having 2 people. The instructions were clear. I didn't struggle at all. And it only took me about 35 minutes. The seasoning process obviously was pretty easy. We just did a lot of sitting around drinking beer. But make sure you do it. That's the important part. That being said, this concludes this episode of Fatty's Feast. If you liked what you saw, please nuke that like button, get this content out to more people, and leave a comment on Blackstone Griddle recipe ideas you want to see me make. I'm really excited to have one of these again, so I need some inspiration. If you want to see more content, check out the videos I'm putting off to the side, and you can subscribe if you want to see more of this beautiful, bald, diabetic face. And of course, as always, until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay hungry.